So as I mentioned in the previous video, I used to run this Blackburn Flea Tail Light attached to my rack bag here. That way I could move it between my bikes. In order to activate the button, I had to put my hand down in this rear water bottle holder here to push against the button. I guess if you had a water bottle in there, you might be able to push against it, but one thing I ran into with this mount is if I try to push on the button here, you can see the light actually moves against the spring clip. So what I need to do is either hold on the bottom here and press it in, or just push really hard so that I push the springs against the back of the rack there. Originally I didn't think too much of that because I already had to hold it when I had it on the rack bag. So here, if I have the bag off, it's actually quite easy to hit the button. I can just slip a finger behind there and pinch the button between my thumb and finger. But of course, if the rack bag is over the top, I can't do that. So anyway, what I came up with was just a little piece of scrap metal. It's about 4 millimeters thick, and have it fit in there. But the idea is just fill that space between the rack and the light. So now you can just push the button normally and you can come in from any direction there. There's the flashing and the double flash. And there you can see the green charge LED. So when that LED turns red, that's when you'd have to charge the light. But yeah, I think this little piece of metal will work. Yeah, I might want to actually thin that down. The 3D printed bracket is about 3 millimeters, and that's about 4. Okay, I think I got this all sorted out. Hopefully this will explain what I've been trying to do a little better. The issue I ran into was with my rear fender here. One of the things I need to do to keep this from rattling so much is I have this wire that I wrap around the back of the rack, and it's got a couple of hooks on the bottom that hook into the side of the fender and basically hold it up tight against the bottom of the light. And then on the bottom of the light I have like a piece of foam weather stripping there. Yeah, so let me show you what I came up with here so we can pop the light out of there. Here's the little piece I added on top. I did machine this down to about 3 millimeters, 1/8 of an inch, which I think is the same width as the bracket, or the same thickness I should say. And I just screwed it on there, but what I did was I moved it up a little bit, which creates a little slot there to hold that wire. And I can just show you how that works here. It's kind of a tight fit. I put them on once in the fall when it starts getting rainy, and then I take them off in the spring after the rainy season has stopped. What holds these on here, I run a screw into the frame boss there. It's a fender mount, and then there's the clip on the bottom that goes around the seat tube. So these two things hold the fender on, and then at the back I just rely on this little clip here to hold it up tight. But you can see here, here's my little clip, and I just bent a piece of copper wire here, and that way it fits through that little slot that I left there and then wraps around the bracket, and then just has these two hooks at the bottom that hook around the edge of the fender. Let me put the light back on here. So there are a few things you could do with this bracket. One is you could push the light all the way to the bottom, and that way it's supported here, and you could press the button normally. But because I run that rear fender, I don't want that pushed down that far. So instead I have it just pushed down that far to keep it below the level of the rack, so I can slide my rack bag in, but keep it up high enough so the fender has some clearance. So another option you could do if you don't have to deal with something like this is you could just increase the height of this bracket. I think there's a dimension in the open SCAD file. You could just make it roughly 3/4 of an inch taller, 20 millimeters maybe. Just make the the bracket come up this high, and that way you could slide the light in and it would be supported back here. I can come in, I can still slide the rack bag in. But yeah, that way I can turn that on and off. I don't have to get in there with two hands. So yeah, if you happen to use that open SCAD model, either post a make on whichever site you download it from or drop a comment in the video below. And as always, thanks for watching.